Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Glad you're here. Robert Barr and
Aya Pillsbury.
And we are delighted that we're sharing this Shabbat with you right before Passover begins. It's just a couple hours, depending on where you are. If you're in Europe right now, or in Asia, or in Australia, you've already started celebrating Passover. Those of us here in the east of America and westward in America, we haven't yet. So we're just getting ready. So this is a Shabbat prior. We're going to do what we always do. We're going to read a bit of our service, a little explanation about ourjewishcommunity.org, light our candles, and do we have a conversation for you? So you want to begin? Don't giggle about that.
Put away the pencil and the paper. Put away the notebook and the keys. Set aside the shovel and the hammer. Rest. For this interval, no buying, no selling, no working, no laboring, no straining, not living in the past, not planning for the future.
This is a time for celebration, for joy, for mirth. We are here alive to rejoice in another Sabbath, another opportunity to be together, grateful for our family and our friends. With no distractions, we touched and are touched, the great gift of the Sabbath. So we're delighted you're here to celebrate this Shabbat with us. It's 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or Daylight Eastern Standard Time. We're a bit early, to be technical. We're early because in about an hour, our congregational bricks and mortar Seder is going to begin in our social hall upstairs. So during the course of this service, if you hear the sound of feet, it is likely to be children who are showing up, more likely than the adults, may walk a little bit more gently. So just ignore it. I know people are setting up upstairs. We're getting ready for that. So as you know, ourjewishcommunity.org is a function of Congregation Beth Adam. So right now we're in our education wing. We have our studio here, and literally above our heads is our social hall.
Yeah.
So we have a congregation that actually has two experiences. We've been here for 36 years creating liturgy and creating a dynamic institution that speaks to what it means to be a modern Jew, to wrestle with questions of finitude. What does it mean that we recognize we're all going to die? How do we take the history of our ancestors and study it through scholarship and appreciate what it means for us today? It allows us to grapple with questions about theology and how we understand our place in the universe, our approach to God. All these questions have been part of Congregation Beth Adam for 36 years. And then we recognized that with the internet, we could share this. There were people, in fact, tonight, you're going to meet some people who actually helped start Congregation Beth Adam.
That's awesome.
And not that his brother's not here, because actually the first bar mitzvah was going to be here. There's almost the entire family except one is going to be here. So it's really a lot of fun, and a lot of people live all over now. And through the internet, we realized people were connecting, and then people who didn't know Beth Adam only came to know it through Facebook or through ourjewishcommunity.org, through the different social medias, are part of this. So it's great you're here. Some of you watching live right now at 5, some of you are going to watch this in archives. Either way, you're part of this community. So we're going to continue with our candle lighting.
On this Shabbat, we create our moment in time. We pause to reflect upon our yesterdays and on our tomorrows, to renew our ties with our families and with our friends, to restore our energies, to refresh our spirits. As the sun descends and shadows lengthen, the distractions of the day give way to the stillness of night. It is time now for us to see not with our eyes, but with our hearts and our minds. As the day gives way to evening, it's time for us to welcome Shabbat.
The candles stand before us, waiting to be lit. We recall our ancestors as we too seek to dispel the darkness and banish the cold, to bring glowing softness, warmth, and safety into our homes. May the dancing flames of these candles kindle warmth within our hearts, wisdom in our minds, passion in our souls. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the life within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the life within each person. Baruch ha'or ba'shabbat, blessed is the light of the Sabbath. Is that a bad match?
No, I just took out too many.
I was just checking. I was like, oh no, we have bad matches. Okay. Just curious. So our candles are beginning. We are ecologically friendly. We don't replace the candles every Shabbat, but maybe in a couple more.
Yeah.
We'll do it. We'll see.
Marks the passage of time in a different kind of way.
Absolutely. Sort of longer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, as we said, Robert Barr, Aya Pillsbury. Aya's a student at the Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, and our rabbinic intern, works here at the congregation of the Bricks and Mortar, and has been very instrumental in creating the resource guides that you would be interacting with. She's been in services, you saw her at the high holidays, but we have educational resource guides, and there's a new one, and we mentioned it before for that when the Purim was the last one you worked on, but we also have one that's about Passover that Rabbi Laura Baum and I worked on last year. So you can go to those resource guides and look and learn about these holidays. And we thought Passover literally is a couple hours away if you're on East and West Coast. And we would just talk a little bit about it. And as we were talking, we were saying, so tomorrow at 5 Eastern Standard Time, we're going to do our online educational Seder. It's going to be a little different this year. We're going to do probably more teaching about the holiday than we have in the past. And we don't want to sort of jump over and start teaching too much right now. But as we were talking about it, you made an observation about, because I started saying, okay, I got a bunch of Haggadahs.
And so you just started taking out Haggadah after Haggadah. And I realized that there are all of these people I know who've written their own Haggadahs every year or every few years, once in a lifetime. And this is one of the only kinds of liturgy that seems like it's really common for people to write their own.
Right. I'm sorry.
And why? And, here it's Shabbat. And on Shabbat, we're not used to going to a Shabbat service and at someone's home and saying, we wrote our own service. It's going to be a little different. Except on Passover, we think that's normal.
Right. So I picked up, so here is, so this is the traditional Maxwell House Haggadah. This is the Shalom Aleichem Institute. It's a secular Haggadah. This one just showed up, the American Jewish World Service, Global Justice. Peter Schweitzer, he's a rabbi in New York, I know, the Liberated Haggadah. This is a fully Hebrew, I don't know, it says nice. Haggadah Shel Pesach.
Very nice. And we have Beth Adam's Haggadah.
This is a polychromatic Haggadah. Did you ever see this? This is a great Haggadah. This is really seriously for you to. It marks it's multicolored. And it lets you know where the verses are from and when.
Oh.
So you have a sense, because the Haggadah is evolutionary. It was not a fixed document. So this is a bit of scholarship. And what's interesting is you're right. I just grabbed these really quickly. I know there's some that fell behind my bookshelf.
Yeah, you have more. This is just the top of the stack.
I probably have 30 to 40 Haggadot, plural of Haggadah. But this doesn't include like the great art Haggadahs. There's Ben Shawn. There's a whole set of incredible ones in art. There are feminist Haggadahs, gays and lesbians Haggadahs. There are, I'm sure, I don't even know how many different. Oh, there's a vegetarian Haggadah I've seen. There's Israeli Haggadahs. There's family Haggadahs. There's interfaith Haggadahs, and it really speaks to the notion that this is a holiday that has a lot of freedom. Where the other holidays, and that was not meant to be a pun, there's a sense.
It just works.
It just works. But there's a freedom to create here that other holidays don't seem to have. Here at Beth Adam, obviously, we write all of our own liturgy, but this is more individualized. You can see that people feel that it's okay to create a new Haggadah and they're not going to get in trouble.
And the thing that's even more interesting is if you think about where Passover came from, biblically, it used to be one of the few times where in order to celebrate a holiday, you had to make a pilgrimage to the temple.
Right.
And so I wonder how much of that, in terms of historically, once the temple is destroyed, you can't celebrate the holiday the way you've been commanded to and told that this is the way you must do it. So maybe there's more room.
I
don't know.
That's an interesting thought. I was thinking, this is not, even though we always talk about you can do everything Jewishly at home, this is really probably the holiday that is most home-centric, if you will.
Definitely.
Right? You do it around your Seder, your own dining room tables.
It's a ritual meal.
Right, it's a ritual meal, which means you're in a different place. And for a long time, congregations didn't do congregational Seders. Some congregations did, and there are probably more that do now. We do. We have a lot of people from, it's just, as society changes, I think people like the idea they don't have to prepare. But the notion of being at home and knowing that there is no rabbi looking over your shoulder, right?
Yeah. It's just your family and what's going to be meaningful for you.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I still remember growing up. I'm not that old. I do remember growing up.
That's good.
But I remember as a kid sitting around the table, and I remember my grandma who she would do this is the Maxwell house, so there was the Goldman, which was a yellow and red one, and she would just sort of sit at the corner and read it by herself because, because my uncle would write a funny one for us, and then we would do a variation of something else. I mean, and then there would be always somewhere along the way some argument about politics because, there was, even though this primary season is pretty intense, there were primary seasons that were not quite as intense, but when McGovern was running and Reagan and things like, or not Reagan, Nixon and things like that were going. I remember political debates of the Vietnam War, and there were a lot of the Vietnam War Haggadahs and things like that. So around the dining room table, Passover became a place of politics.
Definitely.
Different kinds of ritual, tradition, and all that, and nobody felt constrained.
And so at your Passover table growing up, was everyone Jewish around the table?
Wow. I think so. I think at that point, I'm trying to think, it's funny when you ask that, I know at some point we started inviting people over. When we were hosting as a couple, my wife and myself and our families, we always had friends who were Jewish. When we were younger, I think it was mostly just the family, and at that point, I don't know that anybody was intermarried yet. Now, if the family was there, there'd be more intermarried. But when we were kids, right?
But just how much diversity there is and how much discussion and how rich it is. And thinking about my own childhood seders, at least half was Christian, half was Jewish. There was a bunch of Christian clergy, and then some Jewish chaplains, and me who I feel like I've been in rabbinic school forever, but I also wanted to be in rabbinic school forever. So it worked. And we also had the same kinds of discussions, and the Seder would pause in similar ways. And so it's interesting that it doesn't matter what religion everyone is. No. But we can still have these really interesting discussions.
Well, one of the Seders, my childhood Seders were fun because, I still can visualize my dad sitting at the table, my mom, people who are no longer alive. So there's nostalgia to that and sort of a sense of rhythm and a sense of memory. I remember going to a faculty member Seder that was it was a relatively small Seder, but when you walked in, he had a pile of Haggadahs. But each one was different, and everyone took a different Haggadah, and there were non-Jews there as well, and you just sort of had to know the structure of the Seder well enough, or he would help prompt you, and you would read the page of the Haggadah from your different. So
That's awesome.
It was hysterical because what you got a sense, it wasn't hysterical, it was very rich in texture because each Haggadah, there was a Yiddish Haggadah, and there were different culture from different regions of the world, and so people read them, and even though the story was essentially the same, each one sort of played differently, and then his other notion, which I thought was fun, was he said, if we're going to have 4 glasses of wine, we're doing a wine tasting. This is silly. We're not going to sit and drink this much wine and not learn something. So, and then he did a 5th cup of wine, and it was fun. And I have warm memories of that. I have warm memories of Seders that we did as a family, and we had friends over, and watching the evolution of designing a Seder when you have little kids.
It's really different.
Very different to a Seder when you have older kids and adults. Tonight, the congregational Seders are always a bit of a challenge because they're a bit blended. So we had a lot of crayons and coloring books. But there is that sense of, because it's in the home, the sense that we're free to do whatever speaks to who we are. It's not freedom just for freedom's sake, it's freedom about personal expression and what's most meaningful. It seems to me that this is a value that should be woven into all aspects of Judaism.
Definitely. And I would say that even though Passover explicitly is about freedom, all of our holidays have something to do with freedom and personal identity. And that if we don't take ownership of it, then in some ways we're not celebrating these holidays as fully as they could be. Mm-hmm. We're not actually doing them justice.
Right. And I don't know that we're doing Judaism justice when we think like we're stuck with the words. I think what makes the all these different Haggadahs that I'm looking so interesting is the words in here reflect different viewpoints and a modernity and a sense of what we're struggling with. When we do other liturgy that's just our fixed ancestral liturgy, I guess you'd say, we're not giving voice to who we are. And we have a right to do that to create, and that's what I'm so proud of about Beth Adam and our JewishCommunity.org, that as a community here, we're engaged in that, of recreating and reimagining and revisioning what it means to be Jewish in the 21st century. That's been sort of the evolution of Judaism, and Passover really, in a very concrete way, reminds of that.
Yeah, and it's no surprise that you have to wander through the desert for a little while before they end up becoming a nation in terms of our legends, that we have lots of things that we can learn on a practical basis, that you have to experiment a little bit, be lost for some times, and then find meaning.
There we go. So, we hope that you have a great Passover Seder. If you're having one this evening, or you're going to one, or perhaps you're going to one tomorrow, or Sunday night, or whatever. And I know some people who did it earlier. In a mobile society, sometimes we have to really literally time shift. And create the Passover Seder when we can. Here at Congregation Beth Adam, our tradition is to do it on the Friday night during Passover, just simply because people work. Kids and adults have to get up in the morning. If it's in the middle of the week, they have to get up early the next morning. And it makes, there's that line in, why do we sit around leisurely after the Seder? Well, the fact is, if it's a Tuesday night, we're not sitting leisurely after the Seder because everyone's worried about getting up the next morning. And we always found it was sort of it didn't fit.
It's why are we doing this? And if we want to take this holiday seriously, we're going to celebrate freedom and have it be fun and entertaining and educational and meaningful.
So we can shift it. So if whenever you're celebrating a Seder, and if you don't have a Seder that you're going to, come to ours tomorrow night, 5 o'clock, Daylight Eastern Standard Time. Here, and we're going to go through our Haggadah, we're going to talk, we're going to explain, we're going to give some of the texture, some of the richness, some of the background of the holiday to make it understand. We'll probably even talk a little bit about sort of how the evolution of the holiday, both the holiday and the evolution of the Haggadah, and this polychromatic Haggadah even speaks to the evolution of the ritual itself. So we're going to be doing that. So we hope you have a wonderful Passover experience. If you're into matzah, go at it. If you're not into matzah, I get it. How do you like Julia? How do you eat your matzah if you eat matzah?
I really like matzah pizza, but I have to say that what years that I keep Passover, my tendency is to eat flat foods as opposed to just matzah. I feel like a tortilla is actually flatter than matzah. And the whole reminding yourself of something different in slavery.
Okay, so
that works for me.
But not like matzah with butter and jelly?
Oh, that's good. Peanut butter and jelly matzah is good too.
Peanut butter?
Yeah.
Ooh. So you
have to have it fresh so it's still crispy and crackery. I highly recommend it.
So as a kid, we grew up kosher.
So peanut butter wouldn't have flown?
No, yeah. So my mother would make scrambled eggs. This is awful. This is the worst thing in the world. Maybe not the worst thing in the world. It just seems pretty revolting when I was a kid. So we would carry our lunch to school because we walked to school. I went to Hampton Elementary School in Detroit, which is no longer called Hampton. I can't remember what its new name is. Someone told me, but it didn't stick. I mean, Hampton was where I went to school. And so a little brown paper bag. My mother would make scrambled eggs, put it on matzah, and then wrap it in wax paper, because this was before saran wrap. Put an apple in and a candy bar. So you know what happens to eggs when they sit? The butter leaches out, goes through the matzah, which becomes
soggy,
and then goes through the wax paper, deteriorates the matter, which then is stuck to the apple. Now, you couldn't trade. There was nothing in that lunch bag you could trade for anything. So for a week, we just basically starved. Poor kid.
And hopefully you didn't inflict that on your children.
No, we didn't. I don't know what we did. I think Passover food's gotten...
It has gotten better and more accessible.
They've created more
flavored
stuff.
matzah is delicious.
What flavor? Like chocolate?
No, like the onion or garlic or whatever. It just tastes like crackers.
Right, it tastes like, yeah, there's a lot more Passover food, but when I was growing up, they hadn't figured, somebody hadn't figured that out. Oh, we can make better food than...
Make a lot of money out of it.
Make a lot of money. We'll make, yeah, so that is my single strongest memory. And then my mother would string the cabinets closed. She would.
Oh, because getting rid of all of the non-kosher stuff.
Yes, and she would put, and so we had certain foods out that we're allowed to eat and everything else. And jelly, what do you call it? Jelly candy. Like they look like little slices.
Oh yeah, those yeah.
That was it. Was
fruit slices,
it's weird
yeah.
the fruit slices, but they were awful. They all tasted
the same.
the same, but they were different colors. So the green really did taste like lime, but they had a lot of sugar on it. So Passover's fun. I think the thing too for me about and I said we were going to end, but I didn't. Right? You knew that. It's about memories too. I think that's the other thing that one of the richnesses of all these holidays is we create memories, and we create memories with special people in our lives, and they become touchdowns, and we carry them with us wherever we go. That's the other wonderful part of all this. So, join us tomorrow if you're not with anybody. We'll create a memory together that we'll all carry. And we're going to continue our service with challah. Yes, challah. Why, you say? It's not Passover yet here. Oh, but it's in plastic still. Who left it in the plastic?
That was my fault. I didn't know if we were going to show you guys that we were having challah.
Oh, well, see, okay. Prop master.
Fail.
So it is challah.
It is challah, and it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous, but it's not ready to be eaten because
Not
we knew we weren't going to use it tonight. But it's so there you go.
As the fingers of the challah intertwine, so do we join hands in our common humanity, sharing the fruits of our labors. We cherish that which has been created through human effort. For it is through the work of our hands, the strength of the human spirit, the vision of our minds, that our dreams are woven into the tapestry of time. We celebrate the accomplishments of yesterday and today, anticipating the possibilities of tomorrow. May the sharing of this challah strengthen our bonds with others who walk upon this earth. Baruch Amal Kapenu, blessed is the work of our hands. Baruch Hazon Ha'adam, blessed is the vision of our minds. Baruch Lechem Haaretz, blessed is the bread of the earth.
That was good. And whatever you all were typing, Sam was enjoying because he's sitting back there laughing. So I don't know what you were writing about the challah, but I can see you must have been doing something interesting because he has this big smile on his face. So if you have some juice or some wine, sure, join with me. We celebrate the fruit of the vine and the bounty of nature as we lift the cup and sip from it. For we're part of nature, which gave us birth and continues to sustain us. Even as we depend upon nature, so do we influence its course. Through the search for understanding, we've gained the knowledge to shape our world. Guided by the best of human wisdom and the compassion of our spirit, we accept the responsibility which rests upon us. May the taste of the wine or the juice upon our lips stir within us a reverence for nature and a respect for human endeavor. Bruchim chachayim ba'olam, blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim chachayim ba'adam, blessed is the life within each person. We say, l'chaim.
L'chaim.
To life. To life. I'm in a good mood. We're going to a Passover Seder in a few minutes. It's juice. Awfully sweet. Because I'm leading a Seder, so I'm drinking juice. So, today is April 22nd. As I said, tomorrow, April 23rd, we are going to be doing a service, a Passover Seder, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It will be in the archives just like the other things that are there. So if you can't join us exactly at 5, you can watch it. It'll be about 45 minutes to 55 minutes, some version. We haven't timed it exactly, but it'll be fun. Opportunity to learn, grow together as a community.
And if you have questions, make sure and type them.
Right, we'll type them. We're going to actually have we're going to have runners tomorrow with questions. It's going to be easier so I can interact. We can work with the food, work with the Haggadah, but we'll have people here so you can, if you have questions, you can type them in. And if you have a question you've always wanted to answer about Passover, send them to rabbi@ourjewishcommunity.org or be on live tomorrow at 5, and you can type them in right then. Next week, April 29th, Sam Cooper, some of you might remember Sam. Sam is the president of Congregation Beth Adam. young guy, grew up in the congregation, had his bar mitzvah here, his family's here, his grandparents were here, his parents are here, his kids are now here. And he's going to be joining me for services. And the reason we're doing this, we are, this year, the year to come, we're having our annual meeting on Sunday. We're making a concerted effort to reach out to folks who have passed through here, or of the cohort, millennials, people who grew up here, had experiences here, but now live in other cities. So we're going to be reaching out. That's our target. Now, some of you are joining us. You may not have grown up here. You may not even know where Loveland, Ohio is. That's okay. You're part of this as well. But that's one of our goals. We realize that a lot of our students are probably unaffiliated, just like many, many people are. And we want to create community, and so this is one of Sam's goals. So we're going to be spending time trying to reach out to those folks before next week. So be fun. We're going to talk a little bit sort of internal Beth Adam stuff, so you get a sense of who we are. Because even though you may be new to ourjewishcommunity.org, you're actually participating in a community that has a history and has a memory. So we're going to share some of those memories with you, so you can feel a richness and a depth of community that we get to have here. Again, go to our Facebook page. Oh, I know. Go to ElijahTracker.com. ElijahTracker.com. What's ElijahTracker.com, you ask? Elijah, just like Santa,
Obviously.
travels around. And so through the week of Passover, you can go to ElijahTracker.com. I think it went live a couple minutes ago. You can see where Elijah is. And
Can I say when Elijah's at my house?
No. You'll
So
see
someone else decides where
yes,
Elijah goes.
Elijah's so he's all over the world.
Well, that's cool.
Oftentimes in places I've been, ironically. I don't know how it works. With little photos of Elijah in all kinds of places.
Cool.
So you can go there. It's sort of a fun thing to do. If anyone from NORAD's watching, we'd love to make an Elijah tracker tied to the NORAD, like Santa tracker is, but we haven't been able to work that out. So if you know somebody, give them a call and tell them, tie into ElijahTracker.com. We want to do this together. So check that out. Check out ourjewishcommunity.org. Go to look at there's the interview with Daniel Hope, and got a lot of things there. If you go to Cincinnati OJC, you'll find them. So we're glad you're here. Delighted you shared the Shabbat. Hope you're with us tomorrow night. And we close with our final words. May we know blessings those who are near, and may we know blessings those who are far. And may the Sabbath bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.